Okay, so for everyone who has showed up on the webinar, thank you so much for doing this. I know it's a midweek evening. Wednesday does trigger that emotion. What a week. And then somebody reminds you, oh my God, it's just Wednesday. You're halfway through. But yes, I really appreciate you guys showing up over here on a Wednesday evening. We will quickly start with today's office hours. Obviously, we are taking questions in all forms on all topics related to ISO and push notifications. And we also have a presentation today. We would like to walk you through our latest product offering around mobile app notifications. Right now, before I sort of hand over the stage to Anuj, I'll give you a quick background on why did we decide to build mobile app notifications. Because when you go to Isoto's homepage, about us page, you'll actually realize that we started Isoto because app notifications were broken. Right? Back in 2015, the app ecosystem was not as strong as it is today, and there were a bunch of reasons which were plaguing it. Right from mobile devices running out of storage space, to discovery of apps being extremely difficult, to building apps being very, very difficult as well. Right? For the last 5 years, that's one problem which has been solved very, very well, which is you have some amazing frameworks which allow you to build apps across platforms, iOS, Android. Thankfully, there are only 2 platforms now in this world. You don't have to build apps for Symbian and Windows OS, but the problem which remains today also is that user engagement, user retention is broken and challenged. Right now, app notification has been the most powerful tool that there is to engage your audience on mobile apps. Right. The question remains how, and how should you go about it, and so on, right? Which is exactly what Anuj today will talk about. Right? Anuj, with that, over to you.
Thanks, Vivek. Thanks for the introduction. I'll quickly start by sharing my screen. I have a deck that I prepared. So again, as you rightly said, in this we'll be discussing about app push notifications and how publishers and bloggers can leverage notifications to meet their use cases. So here's a quick summary of what we'll discuss today. We'll start with this introduction of app push notifications, how they came to be, and where they are currently. We'll jump to talking about Isoto's app push SDK and things like getting user consent to send notifications, and of course talk about popular use cases. Towards the second half of the webinar, we'll turn towards and talk about notification delivery on Android devices. And also introduce Power Push, which is our solution that will help you boost delivery. I'll talk about it when we get there. And towards the end, I'll talk about how can you actually increase user engagement for your apps, followed by some questions. So before we start, a little about myself. My name is Anuj. I am a product manager at Isoto. I've been working here for about 2 years, and I love talking about technology. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or mail me at anuj@isoto.com. So let's start with the history of notifications. So earlier in 2003 or early 2000s, I remember BlackBerry was very, very famous especially among businessmen, and it had a very good reason behind it. So as businessmen, you of course share a lot of emails, and before BlackBerry, if you had to check if you had a new email, you'll have to go to your email client, scroll, check, and then come out. But BlackBerry made this so easier. As soon as you had an email in your inbox, it'll buzz that iconic BlackBerry sound. And BlackBerry used to have a small LED on the top, which changed color. And that is how push notifications were introduced to the world. So Apple actually took this a step beyond, not just limited to email. And in 2009, along with its iOS 3.0 release, they introduced Apple Push Notification Services, or APNS as we call them. And this is around the same time when Steve Jobs introduced the word apps to the world, and that is how the term was coined, which was quickly followed by Google adopting a similar approach It started off with cloud-to-device messaging, later moved to file-based messaging, and it has since evolved from just sending content to using rich media in notifications like images, your CTAs, your icon. I'll talk about all of that in detail. Just to define the scale of it, there are around 6 billion smartphone users globally, with a split of 70 and 20 between Android and iOS users. So we clearly see that the global scale is definitely Android heavy, but if you, as and when you go specifically into regions, you'll see this this split variate slightly. The main use of using push notifications is that you'll be able to engage with your app users in real time. So when I say real time, if you have a piece of content that you want to share with your users and you want your users to come to your app, you can do that. If you have a new product launch, if you just launched a new product and you want to create awareness around it, push notifications are one of the best mediums that you can actually use for the same. And according to a recent study, it is shown that push notifications, they boost your user engagement by 85%. They increase your user return rate by up to 65%, and they leave a positive impact on at least 50% of the users, which is extremely important, because if your user is happy with the application, if you offer a good experience, the return rate and will definitely keep on increasing. And towards the left, you'll be able to see the anatomy of a push notification. I'd just like to highlight your attention towards 3 important things, which is the title, which is here, the message, and the image. They form the core of how a notification is displayed, and also play a very crucial role on the engagement. Having understood basics of push notification, I'll jump towards our solution for app push for Android and iOS. So the approach that we follow is pretty simple. A marketeer comes to iZoto, he sets up his application, be it Android or iOS, creates a notification like we discussed, and creating a notification is very easy. You just define the title, message, add an image so that it is interactive, and you send it out. And then based on your application, we route the notification through appropriate channels and make sure that the notification is delivered to your end user. The notification creation process is pretty simple. And again, since these are apps, you can decide on if you want to take the user to any specific page inside the app or have them to a generic screen. I'll talk about it in one of the later slides. Apart from defining the title and the message, what we recommend is you keep the title short and crisp, because the whole intent of a notification is to generate that curiosity inside the user and have him tap the notification so that he can view the entire story or the update. Along with this, we also recommend you defining call to action buttons. These can be used to encourage user to take next actions, like maybe share on Twitter or share with users on Facebook. Right? Once you have defined the content, the next part would be to select your audience. You can do a broadcast campaign, which means you send the notification to all of your subscribers, or do a segmented push. You create a segment of audiences and target specifically those. And finally, you define the time when you want to send the notification. You can send it immediately, which means as soon as you hit send, it will be sent to all of your user base in real time, or you can schedule it for a later period.
Right. Anuj, unlike web notifications, app notifications are far more customizable, right? From what I understand, it's literally a canvas and you can put anything anywhere. Is that how one, is that right? And second, if that's the case, how do we offer flexibility to the developer to create like fully customizable notifications?
Definitely, Vivek. That is a very interesting point that you just pointed out. So apps, when we talk about the layout of a notification, when I say layout, it's exactly what goes where. that is completely customizable, and we have full control over how notifications will be displayed. You don't want to show the message, that's okay. You can customize it not to show the message. You want to have a very specific template of notifications, definitely you can do that. And we will be offering this functionality to our customers and developers, where they can fully customize on how a notification will look like. We actually built on top of this and came with a very interesting template, especially for publishers. I'll talk about it at the end of this presentation.
Awesome. Sure.
All right. So now that we have understood how to send a notification, we'll quickly talk about the implementation process. Again, since these are apps, the implementation would be based on the framework of your app. So your app can be built on a native framework, let's say on Java or on Swift for Android and iOS respectively. If you have used Flutter to beautify your app, we have ready plugins available for that across platforms. And if you're using a hybrid framework where you are maintaining a single code base for both the platforms, we provide a plugin for React Native, which you can just plug in into your code base and enable notifications simultaneously for both Android and iOS. The thing, you would need to establish a connection with Firebase and APNS. So what I mean by that is when you add a project to your iZoto account for iOS, you would need to provide a certificate, a push notification certificate. And for Android, you would need to provide your Firebase API key. And from what we have heard from our developers, it takes less than 30 minutes to complete the process, and you would be good to go to capture and push notifications. This is one interesting point which I was talking about when I was talking about creating a particular campaign. So for apps, you have the ability to either route the users to a browser or provide a native app experience. So I'd just like to expand on this one. So there might be cases in which your app is not updated in real time. When I say that, I mean the content inside the app, and there might be some piece of information that needs to be shared with the user base. Let's say there is a breaking news that has just surfaced. Your app might take some time to reflect that data. In the meantime, you can just use the URL of any landing page and send that as an app push notification. However, we recommend that you provide a native app experience and take users to specific screens when they tap on the notification. This is known as deep linking, and since the experience, since they are receiving the notification from an app, it just helps blend the experience in a beautiful way, and also encourages your user to view more stories apart from what they were intended to originally. This is very interesting. The way this is one of the advantages that we offer over, let's say, if you're using Firebase. What we have seen there is that there are no specifics in terms of analytics. However, we provide you data and analytics on a campaign level. So these are different campaigns that are sent to customers. Along with this, you'll see the number of users that this campaign was sent to, which is against the segment. You'll see the number of users to which this campaign was successfully sent, along with the campaign level click information. So these are the actual users who have clicked on your notification, along with the CTR. And this is very powerful, guys. You'll be able to understand the impact on a campaign level, and you can understand and analyze what went good with the campaign, what did not work in a campaign, and take those learning forward as you send out notifications. Alrighty, now that we have understood how the implementation works and how can you send out a notification, we'll quickly talk about how you can actually make your users seek consent from your user to send out notifications. And it's pretty easy. For Android, the process is automated. You don't have to do anything. It is taken care of by Google. So you just download the application and you open the application once, and that is it. You're set. Your users who have opened the application, they will be considered as a subscriber to receive push notifications, and the count of the subscriber count would also be incremented in your iZoro account. For iOS, the process is a little different. iOS basically provides you two ways. Either you can seek an explicit consent from the user, or you can do a provisional subscription. We recommend you ask for a consent so that the user he knows whether he should expect notifications or not. Unlike provisional, in which the user may end up ignoring the notification. What happens in provisional subscription is that the consent is embedded inside the notification. So you'll see at the top, it says keep receiving notifications from the Ola app. And if I say keep, I'll become a subscriber. If not, the experience is different. And again, these are silent notifications, so the user may not even know that they have received notification from a specific app. All right. I'll jump into the fourth section and discuss some popular use cases. So I'll start about how newsrooms are making the best of notifications. We talked about real-time updates, and this is extremely powerful in case of any live event that is being hosted. It can be information, let's say on politics, on cricket matches, or even sports in general. There are category specific notifications. So let's say you have a topic of Olympics, or let's say even COVID updates, right? You have a specific topic that you want to update your users on, and it is a very powerful use case to engage your users on. Another interesting use case is to lure your users into subscribing. This is applicable for those apps who have a paid subscription model, where they charge a nominal fee for the content. This acts as a nudge for your users to pay for that subscription, and helps move them down the funnel. You can also use this for content remarketing. Let's say if somebody is interested in reading a specific topic, let's say for this example, if somebody is reading about politics news, you can retarget and send them notification on similar content. For bloggers, there are very interesting use cases as well. They can do new content announcement. So if any new article is live on your app, you can just send out a notification to everybody, let everybody know that this is something new. You can also engage your dormant users. So this is very powerful, right? We recently introduced the ability for our customers to actually create audiences based on the users' recency. So let's say it depends on how you define a dormant user for your app, but you'll be able to target users, let's say, who did not visit or open your app in the last 6 months. Becomes extremely powerful, helps you target a very specific set of users and possibly revive them and make them visit your app. You can also delight your users with ebooks. Again, very specific. If you are launching, if you have done any study and have made an ebook, you can inform your customers or your users about the same. And of course, you can do a daily or a weekly digest kind of a thing. This is usually towards, if you're doing a daily, probably towards the starting or the end of the day. And weekly would again revolve around the same lines. Awesome. All right. Now we'll jump to the second part of the webinar and talk about notification delivery on Android devices. There are some interesting insights I'd like to share with you guys. But before we do that, there are a couple of factors that influence push notification delivery on Android devices. I'd just like to take a moment. I am talking only about Android devices and not going into iOS, because iOS is completely owned by Apple. So the restrictions there are minimal or none, right? But on Android, what we have seen that factors such as user behavior, their recency, the device manufacturer, these are they play an extremely crucial role on deciding if a notification would be delivered or not. And I'd like to lay some specific emphasis on the device manufacturers, because Android is customizable, and it is used differently by different OEM. I'll get into that a little into the details in a little bit, but apart from that, what we have seen that is if there is low network or high latency or if the user is using an older version of the Android platform, then it also impacts the notification delivery. I'd like to talk about stats, and before I do, I'd like to thank the folks at MoEngage for doing a case study on this and helping us with the data. This is taken from one of their blog posts. So if you can see the delivery that we have across verticals, the maximum that we see is 45%, which goes as low as 30 in case of travel. This is interesting, right? It goes low because you only open a travel app when you actually need to make a booking or you need to travel, which is not that frequent. The frequency here is very low, right? If I talk about media and publishing, the delivery rate is 38%. That means that 38% of your users will receive notifications at all times. These may be the same users, these may be some different users, but at least 38% of your users will receive the notifications. The number might come as a shock, but we'll talk about how you can actually increase these notifications. So I brought out a very interesting point, and where I talked about OEMs. So OEM basically, they are original equipment manufacturers. So companies like Samsung, Xiaomi, Vivo, Oppo. What I'd like to say is that Android is an open source platform, which is free to use, which also means that it is free to customize. You can make a bunch of customizations on top of what native Android has to offer, right? So Google offers it as Android One, which is used in the Pixel line in Nokia and Motorola, whereas every other vendor, they have highly customized Android to cater to their theme and their experience. Because if you use a Samsung phone and if you use an Oppo phone, the experience would be different, even though they both might be running on Android, the same version, right? So Samsung calls their UI the One UI, Xiaomi has MIUI, Huawei MUI, and so on and so forth, right? They do this because they obsess over battery saving, and this is something that that has become a benchmark especially in the mobile industry, right? Somebody with a higher battery, somebody whose device lasts longer, the user will definitely move in that direction, and that influences the purchase of a specific mobile or a specific brand. Right? Just to quote a few, what we have understood is that Oppo devices, they close their applications if the app is in the background. So that means if you swipe away from the app, your app is closed. It may or may not establish any connection with Firebase in order to receive notifications. Vivo devices, they have an auto start manager that prevents application especially from just being awake to receive notifications. Sometimes I think that all of these were done intentionally to stop notifications, but they're not the only one. There have been numerous studies and numerous articles written on top of this, and again, it boils down to them optimizing their battery life. And actually, Ben Sain, he explains this, why they impose battery optimizations in one of his Forbes article. Basically, what OEMs are trying to do is they say that whenever the app is not in use, we just want to block all the movement so that there is no extra battery that is utilized for this. Because again, as we talked about, the purchase decision and how they have marketed it in such a way that it has become extremely crucial in the eyes of a customer. So that is where Power Push comes in, right? We've partnered with Xiaomi and Huawei to solve this exact problem, right? Um, we have discussed that. So what happens is we initially talked about Firebase, but OEMs such as Xiaomi and Huawei, they have their own cloud network for push notifications, right? Very similar to how Firebase works. And since this is their network, they prioritize delivery of notification coming in from their network. So let's say on a Xiaomi device, if there are two notifications sent, one from Firebase, one from Xiaomi's, the mobile device which will actually prioritize Xiaomi's notification and show that up on the device. Right? And for this, there would be no changes that would be required on a code level by our developers. So that's great. That's a win. And how it basically works is that um, a marketer comes to iZoto once they have integrated the SDK and done the implementation. We send out notifications. We actually classify the devices and choose the optimal channel for the delivery of that particular notification. It can be either one of these three. That can be Firebase or Xiaomi Cloud Push or Huawei's PushKit. And using these three, whichever is the most optimal, one notification will be sent to your end user. This just ensures that the whole battery optimization and the restrictions that were placed by our OEMs, they are bypassed and the user is actually able to receive the notifications. So a couple of stats here. What we have observed is that it is expected to increase the delivery by up to 20%. Since the delivery of the notification is massively impacted, it will further increase the CTRs by up to 2 to 4%, which again is a huge win. Imagine an upliftment of 20% on a 10 million base, which in scale is crazy, right? As I mentioned, there is no code level change that would be required. You would, however, need to register your app on Xiaomi and Huawei. So both of these have their own Play Stores. You don't actually need to publish the application. You just need your API keys from both of these. All right. We are towards the end of the webinar. And I talked about how user engagement can be one of the deciding factors for notification delivery, right? How recently the user came to your application, and that directly impacts the delivery. So what we have understood and studied is that your users, they have a very short attention span, especially because their mobile devices is piled up with notifications. We receive from what I was reading the other day, an average person receives about 71 notifications in a day, which is insane. And visual elements, they intrigue the user and make them curious about the content. And especially publishers, they like to lay emphasis on the title and the image for any push notification, keeping the content short and crisp. So that is exactly what we did. We introduced a new template, and we're calling it the newsroom template. And Vivek, this is again based on the question that you asked. We do have full control over the layout, and that is exactly what we did. We went bezel-less. So if you see to the left, you'll see a preview of how the notification will be displayed on the user's device. So the entire layout of the notification will be covered with the image, and you'll see some specific elements like the logo, the title here, which is the main highlight, and along with the timestamp, right? We've added an inbuilt share CTA, which will allow your users to share this story over different channels, such as WhatsApp, Instagram, all these social media channels. Send them directly to somebody, copy the text. It'll basically open the shared drawer inside your mobile phone. and it helps you stand out from the crowd and build a better brand recall. We are currently in beta for this, and we'll be doing a public rollout in the next month. So stay tuned for that. Which again brings me to the end of the webinar, guys. Very interesting things we talked about today. If there are any questions, I'd love to take them now. And as always, if you have any product feedback or request, please write to me at on anuj@izero.com. All right. Since there are no questions, we'll wrap it up. Thanks everybody from the attendees for taking out time and joining us today. We'll be doing such webinars every month towards the end of the month. So we'd like to hear on what you guys would like to see next. We'll send out an email for that. Yeah.